Hey everybody, I'm back. We're doing another video game review and opinion. This time we're taking a step back in time to last year in December when Callisto Protocol came out. Now, I did play this game upon release. I got through about a chapter and a half on PlayStation and PS5, and I just stopped playing it. Wasn't really anything to do with me hating the game or nothing like that. I just had stuff come up, and I'm the kind of person when I take a break from a game for too long, then I lose interest and I hopefully go back to it one day. I saw throughout this year that there were some updates for the game, and now just felt like a good time to play it. For whatever reason, I guess I was just looking for some horror. I'm not sure why. But here we are talking about Callisto Protocol, the PS5 version. Let's get into our first pro. We always go through some pros and cons to give a little idea of why I'm feeling a certain way about the games I review. So, pro number one would have to be the atmosphere. From the environments to the actual like stealth sections to just the feeling of being in a pretty crappy situation as the main character is. This game I feel like nailed it. I was scared at times. I did feel tension. And again, the game really did a nice job at I felt like it was trying to make you feel pretty desperate, pretty at a loss. Like you really are in a terrible situation, and I really felt like it. And the game itself was pretty creepy at times. Not the scariest game by any means, but I also didn't think I would be too scared. I was more of wondering how difficult and how against like everything is against me essentially, right? Because I did play the game again back in December, so I did restart it. I didn't want to like, oh, I've got through chapter two. I'm going to start up chapter three. I didn't think that would be fair. But anyway, this is a long pro. Anyway, the atmosphere is great. I really felt it. Second pro would have to be the audio. Kind of goes along with the atmosphere, right? But the audio is top notch in this game. Like from the weapons, from the sound of you meleeing, the creatures to the voice acting, it's all superb. It's quality in my opinion. So I really enjoyed the audio, the sounds I was hearing, the music, the ambient noise, everything. So let's go ahead and, since we spent so much time with the first pro, let's go ahead and move on to pro number three. I don't want to sit here and waste too much of your time, right? Pro number three would actually have to be the pacing in this game. At first I was like, this game is slow. I don't know. That's how I felt. I felt like it was kind of slow, but then I realized they want you to kind of take it at a, I don't want to say snail pace, but they want you to take this game low and slow. You are essentially in a terrible situation. And once that kind of clicked with me, I realized, okay, we're moving in different areas pretty quickly. Things are happening. We're not stuck here backtracking all the time. The game kind of moved along for me. At least I felt like it did. I never got like, once I got out of the first area and learned the game mechanics and stuff, I never really felt like I was bored with this game. So I thought the pacing hit pretty well. And then we're going to move on to the last pro, which would have to be the story itself. So the story and the characters, there's not a lot of characters, and the story isn't the most complicated, but I still think it was told really well. I think all the way up until the ending, everything, made sense to me. It clicked. I didn't feel like, oh man, like why'd they do this? It just was nice. And also the audio logs you pick up and listen to, there are collectibles strewn around. Strewn, what's the right word for that? They were thrown around, I should just say that. And it's nice to pick them up and listen and read what's going on, because it does help fill in the gaps. But the story itself is a pretty I would say, I use the word solid and nice a lot, but it's true. It's a pretty solid story. And again, if the voice acting wasn't so um superbly done, then maybe I would feel otherwise in the story, because I really felt like kind of started getting into the characters. And I kind of went back and forth on how I like some of the characters. I'm not going to go into any spoilers or nothing, don't worry. But if you played the game, maybe you understand what I'm talking about. The ending did leave. I didn't play the downloadable content, so I don't know what happened in that. But for the base game, the ending um, was nice. There was a nice like surprise in it. But overall, a pretty solid, nice story, with a pretty nice game actually in general. Let's move on to the cons, because I do have some cons. This kind of goes along with one of my pros. It sounds weird to say a con is a pro, but the game did start out slow, and the combat can be sluggish. If you are somebody who likes to go, balls to the wall, just full octane, ready to mow down all this stuff, that's just not the game for you. The actions, the fights, you take them slow usually, right? And then they throw one scene at you in a chapter where it wants you to go balls to the wall, and it doesn't work for this game. So that is a con. So if that section wasn't in the game, you're on a platform is all I'm going to say. Actually, I can explain it. You're on a platform, and they dump a lot of enemies on you at once. And this game is not about that. This game is about you trying to pick and choose your fights, trying to get away as fast as you can, put some distance, isolate enemies. And when you have that one section, it really kind of makes you confused. And that's the one place I struggled at on this game. And I was playing on the hardest difficulty. I felt like up until that point, the game was pretty fair. So, and there are a few enemies that are frustrating. So, like, that's kind of still the same con. There's an enemy that is essentially a snake looking thing that pops out of the ground and latches onto you. And there's not a lot of them, and it's hard to tell when they're going to pop up, literally. So, that can be annoying. So, also, there's another type of small little larvae that, like, jumps on you. And again, you can't really, unless you die from it, you're not going to kill it. It just saps away at your health. It's really annoying. So, yeah, and then the save system, con number 2 would have to be the save system. It's a bit strange how the checkpoint system works. So you get a checkpoint, like autosave shows up in the bottom right, like a lot of these games normally do. And then when you manual save, you think that it's saving right there. Okay, I'm manually saving at this particular point. No, you're just making a manual save of that checkpoint. So it's not very clear why it did that. So it's a weird nitpicky con, but still it needs to be said because if you're trying to like save after a hard encounter, that you can't exactly save after that exact encounter unless you got the auto save. And then the last con, which is another nitpicky one, is about some of the mechanics. For instance, sprinting. Sprinting's weird. Okay, like some sections you can't sprint even if you're holding down the sprint key. And other times it works just fine. Like in combat, you're trying to sprint away from an enemy and for some reason it doesn't let you. And in some areas it makes sense. Like if you're in the water, you can't sprint, right? But like if you're on the same terrain and then it doesn't work randomly, then it's a little bit weird. But all in all, Callisto Protocol, I feel like I remember this game getting kind of some hate. A lot of people were comparing it to Dead Space for obvious reasons. The team from Striking Distance Studio that made Callisto Protocol, if I'm not mistaken, some of them came from the Dead Space team. I could be wrong. I'm sorry. Okay, but I'm pretty sure I remember reading about that, and it got a lot of like criticism, and people were like pretty hard on it. To me, I felt like this game, and I didn't really go back and forth at all, except for the beginning. At the beginning, I wasn't feeling it as much. But once like I said, the gameplay mechanics kicked with me, or resonated with me a little bit, I kind of got sunk into this game. And I played it for about 15 to 16 hours. I mean, a lot of that's because I took it real slow. It's not a very long game. I also probably had idle time, so maybe it was more like 11 to 12 hours, maybe even 10. But anyway, this game is a pretty solid game. I'm going to give Callisto Protocol a 7.5. Now, this might surprise some people because, again, a lot of people were kind of complaining about the game. I did hear about that, and I try not to read other people's opinions prior to playing a game. But since this game came out a year ago, it was kind of hard not to see it. I don't want to get swayed, and I felt like I tried to detach myself from that stigmatism of, like, the negativity. This game is not a bad game at all. If this game is on a sale right now, I guess I a little late on the Black Friday stuff, but if you happen to see this game on a sale, buy it. It's worth it. Again, I did not play the downloadable content. This is just for the base game, but I felt like this game was fun. I didn't play Dead Space Remake or anything like that this year, so this was a pretty nice trip into a horror adventure game. And if you're looking for something like that and you haven't played this game yet, play it. You will actually enjoy it. I'm telling you right now, the game it's not very buggy. It works. So again, Callisto Protocol is 7.5. I think I will say well done, Striking Distance Studio. I think you might not have been a masterpiece by any means, but definitely should be proud.